I'll take you on a little tour of SAP. Here's the logon icon, and log in with which client I'm using, my employee student ID, what's a user ID, password. It defaults into English. So this is a standard SAP menu with all the different modules connected to the logistics. Is you'll find things like plant maintenance and so on, customer service, and that's what I'll be focusing most on, plant maintenance. There's HR and so on. So this up here is where you can type in codes that you want to go to a screen where you know the code off by heart, like IH01, which shows you the structure of a site. So you can put in the site code and it will bring up the site structure so that you can then drill into different things, different locations, and the structures are usually based on process. And here's I looked at the corporate office. There's a pump, and inside that equipment pump there is what they call a bill of materials, which is this in case it's an assembly. So the icon looks different. Equipment looks like a little microwave. Function location looks like multiple microwaves because in a location you have multiple equipment. And the icon for an assembly or material would be with a key icon and shelves. It's like where you stored material in warehouse. And red is an actual material or spare part. So this is the actual bill of materials. And in a bill of materials, you can have drawings, manuals, videos, whatever as documents. You can have text comments, so they can identify something specific in that bond with like an item note. So that's the bill of materials I could purchase if I'm repairing that pump. So if I want to mark that pump as a problem, I can select it. And some companies put buttons. They add buttons in the toolbar here to create notifications or work orders. They also find it up in the menu. Create notification. I'll create a malfunction report, reporting basically that that pump is not working properly. So you type in the description of the problem, and then you see everything else is populated from that equipment. Is locations populated, who's the main work center, like who, basically the crew that does the most of the work on that equipment, and so on. So you can get this stuff to populate automatically from the equipment. It can be modified. If this box was where you could type in details of what the problem was, you can identify the specific part. Most of this is driven by drop-downs based on the equipment or generic. So this one's generic, just brings up a whole bunch of things, and I could say what the problem was with the object part and with the damage and so on. So if I was just technician, then I would basically save my work with the save button. And when a planner or the gatekeeper would see this notification, they would decide whether to approve it, the green flag, or cancel it or postpone it for different decisions based on different roles. So I'm just going to green flag it, take it, and then show you what the next role would do. They would turn it into a work order. So they would click on this button where it has order number, decide what kind of work order they want. And everything from that notification gets copied over into the work order. The work order has different tabs of information. So on notification, it has tasks, it has activities, and also that kind of all that historical data, like was the damage, cause, and solution. But the work orders will actually track the costs. So the cost of labor, that's on the operation tab, where you can put in what labor was done, what crew and crane rentals and so on. That'd be on the operation tab. And then the component tab would be all the parts that you want to purchase to fix the problem. So operation, you'd say how many people, say 2 people, the job's 4 hours. So you can have it so it calculates, by default, calculates work, so that it would automatically say, well, 2 people, 4 hours of work is 8 hours. That's my preferred default. There's a whole bunch of things in courses I go into, like how to attach documents, job aids, and so on to this operation. But on the component tab is where you can actually specify what parts. You can type in a part number if you know it. You can use this drop-down search to search for parts, but the best way is to list the parts from the BOM, the list button. So you bring up your BOM, select the materials you want, and check, and they go into the order. The default quantities come in from what's as a default on the BOM. And of course, you can modify that. It'll calculate all the planned costs based on labor and materials. If the work order is completely planned, then I would green flag it to release it, and that actually orders the things. Some companies would have a requirement that the status has to be set to planned, that it's planned, ready to schedule, and then you can actually release it and order the parts. That triggers the ordering of the parts and services. Once it's released, then hit save, and yeah, order is saved. So we'll go back to the main menu with the green arrow back. So rather than knowing all the codes off by heart, you can travel through the standard menu, logistics, plant maintenance, and you'll see maintenance processing, where you'd find things about creating notifications and so on. On technical objects would all be the equipment and so on. So you could say functional location. What I went into is structural display. I can add these as favorites by right click or click and drag the favorites, or I can just go and import favorites by going to upload. I'll just upload my favorites from my desktop. So I have favorites basically for planner role, and they're right here. So I just allow them to come in, and if I already had favorites, I had to append them to the bottom. You see all my top 10 favorites right here. Then I have them organized alphabetically in folders. So if I'm looking for something about reporting, I go into there and all my favorite reports, and so on. So this would be the more complex favorite menu for planners. And that's just a quick overview of SAP. To get out, I just go System Log Off. Do you want to log off? Yes. And I'm out.